Hey everybody, um, got a very important video today. I'm going to talk to you all about my vision and the purpose of my work. Um, I realized that for the benefit of everybody involved, I shouldn't just be starting at the beginning and working toward something without kind of trying to get across what I'm working toward. Um, and my work is not a solo mission. I mean, I'm the leader, the initiator. It has to start out solo, I suppose, but I really, I need and want over time to have collaborators and helpers and followers and disciples and just people to work with me, and for that to happen, I need to attack the feeling of isolation that I have right now. And I honed in a couple days ago on the fact that I probably largely feel alone and am not getting that much feedback or engagement. Well, for a number of reasons. I mean, it's esoteric content. I'm not like presenting it very professionally. I have a lot to go, but I think kind of like first and foremost, just because I know where it's going doesn't mean that you all do. And I I want to to grip your interest, whatever that phrase is. Um, and I've been, I guess, kind of um, self-centered in explaining and in talking about how this work is an end in itself to me, and it's my life's work and my mission. But um, I haven't really told you what to expect from it. Um, so let me just check this note and make sure I. Yeah, okay. So I think I covered the preliminary notes I had there. Um, and I wanted to real quick talk about my two different channels, streams of videos that I have going now, because I found that it really relates in kind of a neat way to the reason for this video. So I think I didn't. It wasn't on this channel, but in the beginning of the other stream of videos called the Pattern Vlog, which is on my original YouTube channel, which is the username is Bradgib, Bradgib. Um, I talked about how I kind of have like ideas down here that are like mainstream ideas that I need to like just get up for the public, but then I kind of have it's like a fountain, like it branches off and just that sort of thing. Sort of um, basic ideas that I'm kind of climbing a ladder of, and then peripheral ideas which are helping me to expand my understanding and continue to kind of see the road ahead. Um, but then I realized, most of those peripheral ideas, those things that I'm putting out on the pattern vlog on the other channel, are eventually going to be probably incorporated into this kind of mainstream route. And I realized it's exactly like the zipper on this on this fleece, that shape that I have, and these kind of seemingly disparate, going in different directions, kinds of things will be coming together from the bottom up, forming a straight line. So that straight line is what I want to talk about today. What do you get when you start from where I've started with the Pattern King channel, and just go straight ahead. So, um, and I'm kind of uncomfortable about talking about it because, as much as some of these things have been um, abstract, esoteric, theoretical, I feel well. It's just I'm exposing myself a little more. I'm putting myself out there more, and I'm happy to do it, but I'm also anxious about it. So, um, basically, uh, the pattern desperately needs to be shared. Uh, the world desperately needs to know the pattern. Kind of as one of the largest single historiographical impulses of saving the world. And I'm not talking about spirituality here. I don't mean like being saved like Jesus, or going to heaven or whatever. But it's actually not. It's not totally unrelated either. Basically, so through human spirituality and religion so far, we have a whole number of systems, a lot of diversity, a lot of kind of a lot of diversity, a lot of the same underlying principles, a lot of sets of practices, and with globalization and kind of like the New Age movement in the 60s or 70s or whatever, it is kind of being exchanged and mixed, but it's still very hodgepodge, and there's different words and different languages and different concepts you need to know, and most importantly, spirituality. Real spiritual attainment, things like enlightenment, or attaining like life-changing, transformational uh, states, or what have you. I That has been always kind of reserved for the few, for those willing to dedicated and willing to put in um, sort of a single-minded uh, kind of devotion to whatever spiritual belief system is their chosen one, or spiritual practice is their chosen one, and they're and it's always been a lot of I want to say touchy feely, and that sounds so like pejorative, but what I mean is like the concepts and the states and the transitions and the processes involved in spiritual growth through any of these methods um, are very abstract and hard to describe, and so they take a very long time to learn, not just the practices that lead to them, but to learn the concepts themselves. Um, and okay, let me regroup a second. Um, so oh, I remember. Okay, I was just gonna say that in the current state of affairs, even people who have a true, deep, legitimate spiritual interest and take on a practice, um, very often don't get to um, the height that they might. The number of the enlightened is very few, and has been for all of human history. Uh, and there's no real reason that it should be. It's just that so far nobody's really. I don't know. Um, so cut forward to now, to me having pattern, having a pretty rich, broad base of metaphysics, generated through my contact with the knowledge of the pattern. Um, Basically, what I have to offer the world is a system of thinking about and talking about and experiencing um, what happens in spirituality in a mind-friendly format. And this is crucial at this point in our history because our our culture, our society across the whole world has never been more mind-centered, focused in the mind, and literacy and kind of uh, facts and figures, and sort of seeing the reality of life itself as, for the most part, in day-to-day life, as being of the mind. And of course, I don't mean this to be a sweeping universal statement. I mean a universal, but general. It's a generalized statement. Um, but so, like, we have all of these mechanisms that are designed for uh, spiritual attainment that are very um, that are designed for people who are already much more in touch with, like, the experience and the flow and the rhythm of life itself and of the present moment. Um, you could say more naive, but less mind centered is what I'm trying to get at. Uh, we have all these practices that work that were designed for an entirely different kind of culture, entirely different kind of mind, entirely different kind of predominant psychology. So now that we have, um, you know, Western thought has spread to all corners of the globe, and not all corners equally, but still spread everywhere. Science has spread everywhere, very crucially. Um, the idea of striving to achieve an objective truth through empirical methods. Um, and we have, very high literacy rates. We have um, very high public education rates, and often free public education. And so basically, like, we are living our life and training our children and kind of growing up, more than anything, on a framework of our minds. And so what the pattern represents for humanity is um, a way for metaphysics, which is the way that reality works, like the spiritual machinery that drives everything. Um, a way for metaphysics to be taught like physics, or like math, um, taught to a mind-centered culture within the mind-centered system, so that people can have just people can actually come to understand for themselves and see in their own lives, why do things happen as they do. Why do good things happen to bad people, or whatever, vice versa. Like, what's going on about, these feelings that I have for this person and make me do this, and why do I keep making the same wrong error. But to a degree of, and these things are, I think, in New Thought, which is the denomination that unity pertains to, or the umbrella, move, whatever. That's one of the churches I go to. I mean, it's not as though it's not as though metaphysics has nothing. Like, I'm not trying to say that modern metaphysics doesn't work, but it works in very very simplistic principles like the law of attraction and law of circulation and karma and things that do help you make sense of the world, absolutely. But but I'm talking about things that are uh, like quantifiable, things you could draw circuit diagrams of, like things that can be actually studied, um, kind of the underlying what's going on making all this work. Um, and I believe that, well, I know that this is going to change the world. Um, it's too big not to change the world, and vastly, Um, and I don't really expect to, how much I just need to get as much out there as I can, and not really be overly concerned about. Okay, what I'm getting at is that I expect that I'm starting something that will probably take centuries to come into fruition. Um, this is a revolutionary kind of paradigm, and it's not going to um, happen overnight, and it's definitely most importantly not going to like become mainstream or overtake other paradigms or anything overnight. Not that it has to overtake other paradigms. I mean, all of everything that we're doing right now as humanity to awaken is all, of course, working together. Um, but I think like I'm aiming to uh, refine my art and my presentation and my mathematics and my I'm trying to create a product that can create a trickle down effect, you know, and like speaking to other very intelligent, mind centered, probably more mathematically minded people. Um, people in physics and mathematics and linguistics and computer science and the stuff that I studied that led me to discover the pattern in the first place. Um, and so I'm thinking, I know this isn't for everyone, and even in my dream of it being taught in schools, it's gonna be would only have to be basic stuff, that could be taught generally. But like what I do want right away, um, as I live now, um, is to share the pattern and develop a following that will continue to share it. And um, I think that I think that I don't really know how to put this into words, but I know that there will be a trickle down effect if I can uh, reach people with eminence, reach people who are at the tops of their fields, sort of thing. Um, because it's once it's ascertained, there's no going back. There's no argument over whether this is or isn't more elegant, or is or isn't superior, or is or isn't just an entirely different level of of understanding of how the world works. Um, so I mean, it's I have no fear that I will fail long term, because my message is divine and it's beyond reproach, and it is persuasive without the need of faith. Just Occam's razor. It's cohesive and just so big and broad and applicable. And so yeah, I almost said that it speaks for itself, and it speaks for itself, but I still have to speak for it. I mean, the uh, the the idea is powerful enough that once it's communicated, it speaks for itself. But it takes a lot to communicate it, or it almost invariably has. In my experience so far. So, I didn't end up really talking about the New Age, about the transition from fourness to fiveness, and the role of the pattern in that. And I think I'll hold off on that, mostly out of time concerns. But I do think I should say that I've discovered that one of my spiritual maxims is the first shall be first and the last shall be first. We're all in this together. Like, the reason that I need to do my part and spread this to everyone is because that's essential to everyone getting to ascend. Everyone getting to go on together, from fourness. And I realize I may have lost some people that just these past couple minutes. But I thought that was a risk worth taking. So anyway, we'll see. I mean, this is only the first time that I'm laying out this one little snippet, but long term, important long term snippet of what I'm trying to do, of the practical world level. Why does the world need the pattern? So there you have it. Thank you. Good night.